Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of the dceu Daily. Don't forget, you can continue this conversation or any other conversation I ignite over on my Twitter at MoviesTVMad, where I can't promise you logic, but I can promise you passionate debate. So in today's dceu Daily, I discuss how the world desperately needs Superman. But really, we're kind of in a situation right now, as we were in the actual film Superman Returns. I'm not talking about analysis of the film Superman Returns. I'm talking about the narrative of the film. In the actual film, Superman returns from Krypton 5 years later, and there's an article written by Lois Lane, a very angry Lois Lane, why the world doesn't need Superman. We've had articles like that in the real world. Scott Mendelson, who was talking about the fake failure of Birds of Prey, because Birds of Prey isn't a failure in my book, and I'm very happy, and it slots in beautifully within the dceu. But he was saying that because of the so-called failure of this film, he hopes that Warner Brothers and DC don't go back to Batman and Superman. Well, Scott may have been asleep, but there was actually a reveal for a Batman film coming next year. So Batman, we should always have Batman and Superman films. You know, the build-up to Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was one of the most exciting things I've ever seen. Two of my favourite superheroes. Yeah, it's nothing to be ashamed of if you like two of the best characters in fiction. People talk about it like it's a crime or something. Why don't you follow the smaller grade ones? I love Superman. I love Batman. I ain't going to apologise for that. Right now, we are in a situation where no Superman film has been announced. Now, I'm pretty sure that we will get an announcement that J.J. Abrams is developing a Superman movie. And I welcome that. Because Superman's not just about being a big blockbuster or making a lot of money. I still think one day we'll get a Superman film that makes over $2 billion in the global box office. They have to get it right. And I think getting it right is the hardest thing with Superman, because so many people... Superman's a bit like Doctor Who or Sherlock Holmes, like the really big characters in fiction. Everyone has different ideas who and what Superman should be. And I think this is really the problem with Superman. And this is why, I mean, it really goes back to the movie I've got playing behind me right now, at least a trailer of the movie. Superman the movie hit the spot so much back in 1978. So I think people our age, I mean, not everyone, I mean, obviously Man of Steel is a wonderful movie. I personally think Man of Steel is a beautiful film, and I would never put Man of Steel and Superman the movie up against each other because I love them both. They're two of my favourite movies of all time. Without Superman the movie, I would never have fallen in love with this character. But to a lot of people, and I'm not going to speak for everyone, because some people see Henry as their Superman, some see Tom Welling, George Reeves, a lot of people see Christopher Reeve. I think in terms of Christopher Reeve, and forget the movie he was in, he was the perfect Superman in terms of the way he looked and the way he acted. But he really had an intellectual thought process about the characters. I've seen videos and I've read interviews. He really did get it, that Superman was a friend. And that's who Superman is. This gee whiz, cool character, alien from another planet, who happens to decide to help humanity instead of conquer it. That's a big deal, because so many stories about aliens are very dark and negative and have aliens invading. Superman doesn't want to invade. Superman wants to be here for humanity. That's the mission that was set out to him from Jor-El. That goes from the comics. That goes from the first Superman movie. It was very different in Smallville. In Smallville, Clark eventually decides to embrace the Superman persona, but not because of his father, because that's what he wanted to do with his life. So it's really two different ways of telling the same story. So why do we need Superman? He's the best. He's the absolute best. When I see an actor wearing that costume, it makes me happy. Seeing that Superman insignia makes me happy. As I say, he is just the absolute best because he will always try and do the right thing. And sometimes he'll do the wrong thing when he's trying to do the right thing. We saw that in Man of Steel when he's just starting out. In Man of Steel, it really is a Superman Begins movie. He makes mistakes because he's very emotional in that film. He's more emotional in Man of Steel than he is in Superman the movie. Again, two different takes about the same character. Again, I really, really like that. I like taking a character and telling him in so many different ways, where a lot of people were arguing. Some people will say, Man of Steel's the way to do it, real well, Superman. And some people say, no, Superman is, he's a pure hero and he always does the right thing. So Christopher Reeve's version is better than Henry's version. So you got people arguing that both versions are absolutely great. The Smallville version is absolutely great. And if you like the Lois and Clark TV show, that's great. If you like the Tyler Hoechlin, who's getting his own Superman TV show, which will be called Superman and Lois, good luck to you. Everyone's got their own versions. It's like Doctor Who, isn't it? She now has been played by so many different actors, and everyone has their, favourite interpretation of that character. And that causes debate, which is always wonderful. And Superman's been played by different people. We've had George Reeves, we've had Christopher Reeve, we've had Tom Welling, we've had Brandon Routh, and recently we've had Henry Cavill and Tyler Hoechlin. And everyone's got their favourite version, and that's good. That's good. It's great to debate about who the best Superman is. I haven't decided yet who the best Superman is, and that's something maybe we can talk about in a later date. The ultimate Superman. Who is the ultimate Superman? Not who was in the best film, because that's unfair, because Zack Snyder had all the bells and whistles to play with Man of Steel, and Richard Donner had to do everything within the camera, or mostly. There was only a couple of effects houses, and what they could do wasn't very much. So I think it's very unfair to compare Superman the movie and Man of Steel. Seeing Man of Steel was was released in 2013. Zack Snyder, as I say, had all the tech to do what he wanted. And Richard Donner, the flying in Superman the movie, for a film that didn't have CGI, is absolutely amazing. And for me, the flying still works. Now, people will say, oh, the backgrounds look fake. Look, you can tell he's up and there's a background there, but the flying still looks awesome. Chris's body shape still looks awesome. The world really needs this character back. I don't understand the studio who has this character on their books and does nothing with him. I've said this for a long time. And when they were reporting that they were giving Superman a rest, I didn't believe it. And I actually came on here and said, no, this is BS. There's no way Warner Brothers would do that. But they have, because we haven't seen Superman since 2017's Justice League. And no matter if you think whatever you think of Superman's portrayal in that film, right, that was 3 years ago. And there hasn't been any word. I know we saw the kind of body double wearing a weird version of the Man of Steel Justice League costume in Shazam. Now, talking of Shazam, it's very interesting because when Shazam came out, most people liked it and they were saying, oh, you see, we don't need Superman and Batman. We need to see, maybe they're going to give us all the lesser characters now. Look, I'm all for seeing other characters. And we live in a generation which is either or. It doesn't have to be the smaller graded characters or Superman or Batman. It can be all of it. And I personally believe that's what Walter Hamada's attempting to do. But we need Superman. We need a Superman movie in our screens at the latest of 2023. I don't want to wait for a Superman movie. And I hope the rumours and what my sources have been telling me, that we're going to get a JSA Superman, a Justice Society of America Superman in Black Adam. He's so important. Anyone running a DC cinematic universe should have Superman front and centre. And of course, that's what Zack Snyder attempted to do, and he got that absolutely right. His whole arc is about Superman. It's interesting that people don't believe that Batman vs Superman is a Superman film. I think Batman and Superman have a joint movie there, and they both get the same screen time, and their stories expand in a beautiful way. And I think the arc that Zack was doing was relatively about Superman. Superman coming to Earth, being rejected, being accepted by some, and in the end, in his Justice League, Superman coming back and people loving him. Like they do in Superman the movie. It just takes longer in Zack's verse because Zack wanted Superman to earn the right to be loved by the public and to look at it in a real world way. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. As I say, you've got the comic book kind of Superman in Superman the movie. You've got the real world 21st century, let's hate and doubt everyone before we know them really, really well, and then still cancel them. It's interesting, actually, because the Man of Steel Superman is probably living in the cancel culture, isn't it? Where you can be cancelled or loved at any one time, in fact, in the same minute or the same day. And I like that. I like the fact that Superman had to earn his right in the Snyderverse to become the hero that everyone looks up to. Superman, for me, is perfect for this day and age because we need someone to look up to, someone who's purer than us, someone who's not superior to us, but he can teach us that in any circumstances you can do the right thing, like he does in Superman versus the Elite, where Manchester Black is trying every trick in his armory to make Superman kill. And when he doesn't, he tries to kill Superman. He tries to wipe him out. It's an amazing story, and I've spoken about it and ultimately, I've read the graphic novel, but I've also seen the animated movie, which is amazing. Superman actually makes him and his team think he's willing to kill them. And in the end, he reveals that it was all a trick. And it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen to do with Superman or fiction or superheroes. Superman keeps his morals and doesn't kill. Now you're going to say, but what about Man of Steel, Mick, when Superman does kill? You see, I've said this in many videos as well, that for me, Superman killing Zod isn't a triggering moment. It didn't upset me because of the way it happened. Within the story, he had no choice but to kill him. Now, if you want to label anything, label it a David S. Goyer for coming up with this narrative of Superman killing, because it was very controversial. But to me, Superman had absolute no choice, and he's not killed a human here. He's literally, Zod is a Kryptonian, but he's pretty much a clone Kryptonian. But that's how Kryptonians, that's how the life forms were done in Krypton within the story of Man of Steel in the DCEU. But ultimately, in that instance, I wasn't upset, being a massive Superman fan, pre-DCEU as well. It didn't upset me because ultimately, Superman's got to choose a husband, a wife, and his child or children. I can't even remember who he was saving Zod from or who he was saving the people who Zod was going to kill, right? But at the end of the day, it wasn't cold-blooded murder. It was literally allow innocent people to die or kill Zod. And in the end, you can see in the performance of Henry and how Zack gets that out of him, how amazing the struggle within Superman to actually kill another person, whether he's a Kryptonian or not. And the last Kryptonian, apart from himself as well, that is just such a powerful moment. So why haven't we heard anything about a Superman film? Why has Superman been on the bench for 3 years? Well, because of the theatrical cut of Justice League. See, Warner Brothers decided, and their bean counters and their people decided to blame Superman for the mess that was Justice League. It was Superman's fault. He was in the film. He's the biggest character. Why wouldn't people want to come and see Superman? Oh, the world must be done with Superman. It's Superman's fault. Do you understand what happened there? They blamed Superman for everything. Insane. I know this for a fact. It's insane. So basically, no Superman, you know. And then there was rumours after Justice League that he was going to cameo in Aquaman. He was going to cameo in Shazam properly. He was going to be the Tony Stark of the DCEU, which was really exciting. They changed their minds. Now, I don't know if that was initially Zack's idea when he was still involved in the DCEU, or if that was Walter Hamada's original plan, or maybe even Jeff Johns' plan. I suspect it was a Jeff Johns plan. It's a pretty good plan, by the way, whether you like Jeff Johns or not. No, but we had no Superman. How can you have a DC cinematic universe that starts off with Superman, then you say, nah, we made a mess, we created the issue with Justice League, let's just blame Superman. The world needs Superman. The world needs his positivity and his brightness and his goodness. As I say, especially in this day and age, where everything's dark, you're either on that side or that side. We need him. All you have to do is write him properly and cast him properly, or bring back Henry. Henry still seems very, very determined and convinced he'll play Superman again. We just don't know. But at the end of the day, you can do your Suicide Squads and your Wonder Womans, which is great. I'm excited for those films. And the Batman. But how can you have a DC cinematic universe without Batman? But of course, there's another problem. We live in a very political time where I've discussed this before. Our movies and our entertainment are being politically weaponized. So Superman's suffering from another problem. He happens to be a man. And for Hollywood, making male-led movies is a bit of a problem. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, they decided to announce through the press, not through themselves, through official channels, that they were developing a Supergirl movie. Now, it's gone very, very quiet about a Supergirl movie. Now, personally, I love Supergirl. I love the Helen Slater version. I think Melissa Benoist plays the character really well, even though the actual show is terrible. I think Melissa's a great Supergirl. I love the character, and I'd love to build up this Superman family, if you like. Supergirl, maybe even Krypto, the whole thing, right? Lois Lane, you know, it could be fun, right? It really could. But you need to start with Superman, right? Like it or not, Man of Steel was divisive. Batman v Superman was divisive. You need a Superman that ticks everyone's boxes. So how do we bring Superman back? Well, as I say, J.J. Abrams is coming, you know, thinking of these very ideas right now. What does he do? I'm hearing it's a Man of Steel sequel, but it could be absolutely anything. And if the JSA version of Superman works out in Black Adam, then they may use him as well. But, you know, they need to do these things, because putting Superman on the subs bench was outrageous. And he's still my favourite character. He's still amazing. I still feel there's a superior live-action version of Superman to be made. As I say, I love Superman the movie, I love Man of Steel, and I even love Brandon Routh's interpretation to a lesser extent. I can't stand Dean Cain's Superman, and that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm cancelling him for whoever likes him, right? But he's not my cup of tea. But in terms of Superman, I do feel there's a superior version of Superman out there to be made. And who knows, it could be J.J. Abrams. And if you make this superior version of Superman, you could have a $2 billion Force Awakens movie on your hands. But I want to know how you feel in the comments down below. Are you a Superman fan? Can you live without Superman being in the DCEU? Because I can't. I think he's simply the best, and he should be there front and centre, and taking him away and blaming him for the Justice League calamity is absolutely outrageous. So please comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and please share the channel and the video. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for bringing attention to this channel and my videos. Your support is very much appreciated, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Maybe we'll find out we're finally getting a Superman movie. I've only been waiting 3 years.